I gotta get this agenda up now. I'm a little slow. Meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Klett.
Aye.
Wong.
Present.
Miller.
Present.
Larson.
Here.
Sanchez.
Here.
Jacobs.
Here.
Charles.
Here.
Duran Vasquez.
Can I get approval of the agenda, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? We are now at the Pledge of Allegiance, and no one told me who's doing it tonight. Who's doing it? Hackett, come on up.
Wow, whole crowd.
I need to come here first. And your name is? Xander? Last name, Xander? Greaser. Did I say it right? What grade? Third? Okay. Bernardo? Leonardo? Here. You say it.
Leonardo
Last name.
Martinez,
What grade?
third grade.
All right. Did you want to try the mic too? Okay. Come on. Get in here.
Shia Brooks.
Last name?
Brooks.
Keep staring at me.
And I'm in third grade.
Right. Okay, who's next?
My name is Hank
Hank, what?
Voigt,
Okay,
and I'm from third grade.
excellent. And you, can I get the mic down to you? Come on.
Jacob Cruz,
What grade?
third.
You're all third graders?
Yeah.
That's my favorite grade.
My name is Giovanni
Man, get down in there.
Salazar Cano, third grade.
All right. Thank you. So, you guys want to lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance? Everybody stand, please. Hit it.
Wait,
You know Spanish too?
Stay standing.
Okay. I can't help you, but go ahead. Thank you. That's the best part of the meeting. Y'all know that, right? Who's got announcements tonight?
My apologies. I forgot to do announcements for you, Stephanie.
Great job, Stephanie. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so we have appointments. Is that me, Michelle, on the committee? So Pam, Charles, I need you to take my place on the committee with Kyle Larson.
Well, you took mine, so it sounds fair.
I didn't actually take it. Just-
No, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Jeff.
No, thank you. Okay, we are at, before we get into the recognition, I do want to be as open and transparent as we can. We did have an unfortunate situation at Todd School today. There was a loaded gun that was taken to that school. I would like to say that the school district and the city of Beloit worked very well together to make a unfortunate situation the best it could be. I would also like to recognize the Director of Safety and Security, the teacher, the therapist, and the principal to handle this in a calm, effective manner. It's a very scary situation. They coordinated with the police department. We did everything we could do to make the best of a bad situation. But I wanted to make that announcement tonight to let you know. We are going to continue to be as open as we can to the public and let you know, bad or good, what's taking place in the district. And I do again want to say this, the school district staff stepped up and did their job, as did the city of Beloit. We are now at the recognition of National Board Certified Teachers. Well, that's, Monica, this is all your stuff, right? I don't need to do anything right now, do I?
Okay. Good evening. We have some wonderful recognitions to do tonight, and I asked, excuse me, Ms. Pels, interim principal at Beloit Memorial High School, to join me, since most of the recognitions this evening are staff and students of Beloit Memorial High School. I would first like to ask Ms. Amanda Sellen and Ms. Julie Horvath to come to the podium, please. Celine. Thank you. We are recognizing these two gifted and talented teachers for their national board certification. This is a voluntary, and I use the word voluntary, advanced teaching certification process that goes beyond state licensure. There are national standards that include a rigorous certification process. Teachers who achieve national board certification have met high standards through study, expert evaluation, self-assessment, and peer review. They must exhibit a deep understanding of their students' content knowledge, use of data and assessments, and teaching practices. They must also show that they have participated in learning communities and provide evidence of ongoing reflection and continuous learning. Rigorous may be too light of a word to use this evening. I was looking at all the requirements, time, work and accomplishments, and our students and district are the beneficiary of their hard work and dedication to our district. Thank you and congratulations. And we do have certificates. Can we give them a round of applause? This is a long... Next, I would like to call Dr. Evelyn Galindo and Miss Becky Paulson. Once again, these two teachers have gone above and beyond to ensure our students are receiving exemplary instruction. This takes dedication and commitment to students well beyond the classroom. I would like to congratulate Dr. Evelyn Galindo for her PhD in Spanish literature, and Ms. Becky Paulson, under the Wisconsin Association for Language Teachers, a recognition of merit. Again, I can tell you this, it takes a lot of dedication and out-of-classroom work. So can we please give both of these wonderful teachers a round of applause? Thank you, ladies. Congratulations. We did have a recognition for Miss Janet Henke. I want you to stay up here right now. For from McNeil, Rotary Teacher of the Month, but I think she was not able to make it tonight. So we'll make sure we recognize and honor her for being selected as a Rotary Teacher of the Month. The next individual from Beloit Memorial High School I would like to call up is Mr. Greg Wallendahl. Can you join us, please? Yay. He's the theater director and manager at the high school. Under his direction, a group of very talented students presented a one-act play, Metamorphosis, at the state festival, in which we received state awards. And what I've asked him if he would please do is share a few comments regarding that particular festival competition, and then we'll call up the students who are here tonight, too.
Okay, so the state festival takes 2 separate festivals to go before that. So we had to prepare this show for district. So we had to go truck our set and all our students who were involved in the show up to Middleton, and we had to perform this show there in front of judges and student audience. And we had to get there were 3 judges, and we had to get 2 go-aheads or advances in order to move on to the next level, which was sectionals. We got all 3 go-aheads, all 3 advances. So we got to sectionals, and we had to do the same thing. We had to truck our set all the way up to Wanakee, and where we performed it once again to 3 judges and student audience. That was an even bigger festival. Only about 50% of the schools that went to that festival that day advanced on to the next level. And so that was pretty incredible that we got to go as well. So we got 2 advances and 1 stop. So we were like kind of on the risk there. But then we got to state, and we performed at state, and we got a standing ovation, and it was a really wonderful experience. The state festival happened this year in Milwaukee, so we had to truck our set and everything up to Milwaukee at the Peck School of the Arts. And we performed. And each of these, one of the things that I want to emphasize on this is that for this festival, you get no rehearsal time on the stage that you're going to perform on. None. So we get like 2 minutes to load in, we have to perform, and 2 minutes to load out, and that's it. So it's really a testament to the students who have to go in there and learn technical things on boards, like light boards and sound boards, and adjust to the space and adjust to the equipment that whatever the venue that we go to has, without any time to rehearse or any time to prepare. So we have to really know our stuff before we even go. And so it's a huge testament to these kids who went. So,
And also to be recognized at the state level was really something. I'd like the students who were involved, can you please come up and join Mr. Wallendahl? And then is Matthew Wick here? No. Nope. Is Tyler Alf? Hi. Tyler was recognized and received an additional award for outstanding acting. I'm going to have you introduce the students who are here today. Just say it very quick. Just say your name.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Turner. Oh, that was kind of loud.
Hi, I'm Tyler Elf.
Hi, I'm Katie Kramer.
Max Jose.
Very good. Thank you all very much. Can we give them a round of applause for their great work? Here's all the certificates for the whole team. Wonderful. Thank you. Great job, guys. Last but not least, I would like our Rotary Students of the Week to please come up and join me at the podium. In December and January, 10 students at Beloit Memorial High School were recognized as Rotary Students of the Week. It is a competitive honor. These students are selected not only for their academic achievement, but for their philanthropy work, their extracurricular activities, and for being wonderful peer role models within the high school. And tonight, I know we have 3 of you, I'll let you introduce yourself. I have certificates for everyone, but certainly once again, this really shows the caliber of students we have at our high school and the work they're doing not only within the district, but within our community. So I'm going to let you introduce yourselves.
I'm Gabrielle Klatt.
Hi, I'm Dia Patel.
And I'm Espada Guevara.
Can we give these bright and talented young women a round of applause? Emily, I'm going to let you end the recognition with a few words. I guess I would just like to say, as the interim principal at Blitt Memorial High School, I continue to be so honored and proud to work with the students and the staff at the high school each and every day. As you can see, they are full of talent, dedication to education, and just really, really, really great individuals to work with that create just a wonderful environment at Blitt Memorial High School. I think we could highlight something every day, so I'm really excited to have the individuals in the room that we're recognizing today. So thank you.
Monica, I have one other recognition. My brother Benji Klett, on his 46th birthday, was named the Rotary Teacher of the Month. Many of you know Benji from a teacher at Converse, but... Go Converse. Pardon? I only know because somebody sent me a Facebook thing or whatever, so. He's my brother, I love him, but congratulations, brother Benji, number 10.
Congratulations. We'll bring him back next month. Thank you.
I got it. You don't have to, I already did it. Okay, we are at the point of citizen input. What do we have tonight, Michelle? 3? So I have to read this?
You can actually read what's in your document if you have your computer on.
No, I'm going to use... You're talking to Michelle? I'm going to use the paper.
Okay.
Computer. Members of the audience, the Board of Education is now at the place on the agenda where we will receive public comments on areas of interest that are not on the agenda. The Board of Education will generally not respond or act on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Appropriate items will be referred to administration or one of the board's committees. While the board and district welcome public comments, we as a board also must ask that you exercise care in your comments that relate specifically to district employees, students, or others with the school system. In order to protect rights of these individuals, the board will end comment on such topics. The use of specific names of district personnel may lead to legal liability on the part of the speaker. The board has existing procedures in place to address legitimate complaints against staff members and persons related to the system. The Board of Education asks that each person wishing to address the board has completed a citizen comment card and given it to the board secretary prior to the start of the meeting. Individuals will come to the podium as they are called and give their name, address before speaking on their topic. Each person will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Public comments requiring translation will be given 6 minutes. Are there persons who wish to speak?
Yes, we have 3 people tonight.
And who is our board timer? John Wong will time the 3 minutes.
The first person I have is David Ramirez. I actually have 4 people.
I'll keep it short, you guys. Don't worry. I'll look worried over there.
Hello, everybody. David Ramirez, 2112 Roosevelt Avenue in Beloit, Wisconsin. I'll be real quick. I have 2 different items that I would like to speak on. The first one, there's an item for later discussion on the public comments. I believe that maybe we can kind of have an idea where these comments get put in the end of the meetings, not at the beginning. If I'm asked to speak about an item in the agenda, I know I want to speak about the Hispanic agenda that's coming up, but I also would be not giving him the respect that he needs for him to do his presentation. If I start talking about it, the only thing that would come back to me is, we'll talk about it later, it's being presented. I get to sit down, and then after that, I wouldn't have my voice being able to give that opinion or a comment. It may be if we traded these comments to the end of the meetings, people can keep all their words to themselves until you guys are done doing your guys' job, and then we can make our comments in the end where it won't be the retribution coming back to the person that's trying to speak. Just an idea. The other thing also is because I do plan on sitting and not being as vocal. Not all the time, just for right now. There still hasn't been any news or information. I've been asked to contact people, and right now I haven't because I'm waiting for things to settle and see how they're going to end up. To me, the whole Hispanic agenda is really big. It's my culture, it's my heritage, and I want to stand up for my own also. I don't want to put any people down or talk about it right now because I think that's also something that's going to be spoken about. But then there goes to the whole comment thing. If I don't speak about it right now, it gets brought up, and then I have a question. Where is that comment and concern going to be able to come in? Am I going to be told to just sit down, we'll talk about it later, or am I actually going to be able to be heard? So the whole censorship to me is a big deal. Right now we have a thing where that trust and everything that you guys are trying to regain from the community, it's coming along. I hear it and I'm experimenting it myself. So don't try to put a piece of tape over people's mouth with this censorship. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person I have is Tori Champany.
Hi, good evening. Tori Champany, 1820 Burton Street, Beloit, Wisconsin. This is more, I guess, a comment for the two new interim superintendents. I'm speaking on behalf of, I think, most of the staff. If I ask you if you would consider looking at the lesson plan, for lack of a better word, policy that is in place for this school year. I believe the building administrators have been given the latitude to apply that how they see fit in their building. But I do know, I mean, we have examples of a 31-year veteran teacher who's turning in 12-page lesson plans. I don't think that's the intent. So for the sanity of the staff, I ask if you kind of look at that. I think there's a purpose there, but I think we've lost track of that purpose. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Next, I have Sean Levy.
If you can't tell, Michelle's losing her voice, so she's been fighting it, so. Don't be talking about Ohio State either.
Don't count this in my, where's the mic at? Don't, 1, 2, don't count this in my 3 minutes. As far as Ohio State, if you go to the Ohio State, you never have to talk about it because we did lose that last game, but the winners that we are, everyone else will always talk about it. Okay. Sean.
You can't help yourself, can you?
No. Sean Levy, 2074 Cobblestone Court. Speaking of two items today, one, administrative renewal and non-renewal of contracts that did come up on a different agenda. Having worked in the district before, and now that I don't work in the district, did want to speak on behalf of the administrators that you do have. There's like a legacy system that was in place when I did work in the district. So kind of like when you come in as administrator, that's your number. And oftentimes you may be working at the intermediate level or the elementary level or even being an AP at the high school, and you're doing the same work, but you're not getting paid the same. So it's very difficult for those public employees that come before you and ask that you do something about their compensation. So that I'm asking that you would do something about that as you look at those contracts for those employees. Secondly, the interim superintendent hiring process. This is not to disparage the credentials or career experiences of our two new current interim superintendents. Welcome and thank you, because leadership is needed. But my question is really just about the Board of Education and the processes that you use to select leadership in this district. And I know that changes with each board that is elected, and then also to the administrative practices that are used to select leadership in this district. There's something wrong. So in reading the paper, 3 people were suggested to the board, 3 people were interviewed, 2 were hired, and we're talking about between the Thursday when the superintendent resigned and then like Tuesday. Like that process, there's just a question about that. So what do? Just walk up to someone and say, hey, I hear you guys are having some trouble. I'm interested in working here. And then somebody will get back to you. And like those are the backwards, unclear processes that exist in the district. So when I sat on the ad hoc diversity committee, that lack of transparency and clarity about what it takes to become credentialed and educated to work in the district That is what is keeping a large part of administrators who are from Beloit from desiring to work in this workplace. And I would ask that something would be done about that. There are some positions that have had the interim tag on them for 5 years. When will the jobs ever be posted so people can apply? So that's something that I would like the board to do something about.
Thank you.
And the last one I have is Angie Lannon.
So this one doesn't work. I have to vote this one. Terrible at public speaking, so bear with me. I actually wasn't going to talk until the incident today when I got the robocall about the situation at Todd's school. And I went to the gas station and I ran into several mothers literally screaming about it. Before, it was our principals calling and saying, we had an incident at, like my kids go to Aldridge. We had an incident at Aldridge. This is what's happening. It was a human being. It wasn't some person sounding like a lion in your past due bill. And then at the end of it, just going, goodbye. You know, you have a kid that had a loaded gun today, and that's what you get. And I'm not talking about hours later because there is an investigation. There's protocols on the police part, on your guys' part. But I am wondering, can you go back to when the principals, the people that are in charge of our children's safety, doing the mass phone calls, a human being calling us and letting us know what is going on with our children instead of AT&T or whatever, calling with this ridiculous voice and then just saying goodbye. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if that is something that you guys would be willing to look into and have because I know that the principals can do mass phone calls because we get tons of them all the time about coffee with the principals and things like that. So please look into that and make us feel more at ease instead of, like I said, the robocalls. It's ridiculous. Thanks.
Thank you. I like the salmon color. No, we always appreciate the public comments. That's the only way we get a lot of times information back from people, so thank you. They are, but keep in mind that we've got, 7,000 students and for principals to call everybody. It would be hard, but I hear what you're saying. The message has to be humanistic.
It is. It needs to be more human, and you guys are in charge of our kids. Like if say something needs to happen to one of your children, and some robo voice calls and says, oh, your child is in the emergency room, and blah 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 blah. Goodbye. You know what I'm saying?
No, I got what you're saying. I mean, the other issue is we have to reach everybody in a timely manner, and so we got to find a compromise. I hear what you're saying. I really do. And I do like the salmon. Okay. We are at the superintendent's reports. I'm just going to introduce them tonight, Bill Beckley and Sue Green. I will say the situation today, I got to work with both of them. I will tell you, it was very calming and soothing to talk to them in a tough situation. They kept their calm. They worked with the staff, kept the staff calm. And so to that, I'm very appreciative of what I saw in the second day, my first day back from Mexico. So thank you. We look forward to next month, though. One of you is going to have to speak, and you'll make that decision. So welcome.
Thank you.
We are now at the report section, and the first one up is our student board member.
Hello? Okay. Good evening, everyone. So, first student report today. I just want to acknowledge all the students that were recognized today. Good job. I just want to say these students, especially Rotary students and theater students, just everyone being recognized. These kids, they have so much on their plate. And to be able to be recognized and to just do what they do is incredible. It really is. Theater students, they work day and night on their theater sets and on perfecting what they do, and it's just so impressive. And Rotary students, they are involved in so many activities, and they keep up their grades, and they have so much determination, and it really shows. And it's just great that they're up here and that they're being represented like they should be. So just one thing I want to talk about is the next AIU Day is January 30th, and will be taking place during the entirety of the school day. And students and teachers, administrators will be able to work together to do some team building activities and just to work together better as students and as administrators and as teachers. Just some issues or just some things we want to talk about at school. So early in the year, we found out as Class 2020 that we didn't have outdoor lunch, so we couldn't be able to go out to lunch. And so from my understanding, the school decided to make our cafeteria kind of bigger and create this separate cafeteria section in which the students would be able to eat. Now, this cafeteria section has been done for like at least a month maybe from what I've seen, and it's been blocked off. So like students can't eat there and they've just not been allowed to eat there. So from my point of view, I'm thinking like, why go through the time and effort and money to build this in order to compensate for what we weren't given in the beginning of the year, but yet we're not allowed to use it? And maybe there's more into that, maybe there's more reasonings, but as a student, you see that that's literally like blocked off by chairs. You're not even allowed to enter. And it's just kind of like, why have it there if it's just gonna sit there and it's not gonna be used for anything if it was made for the students? Next thing is recently, and more so in the beginning of the school year, the students were not able to do schoolwork because certain websites have been blocked off. And I know, you know, your basic websites like social media and things that aren't meant to be used, but there was an incident where an own teacher's website was blocked, and that website was used for world history, US history, and Holocaust and genocide. And it was used to do classwork in the classrooms. And for it to be blocked, we literally couldn't use it. And being in one of those classes, it's frustrating that you have to do your schoolwork, but you can't because the websites that you need to access and you need to use are being blocked. And so if that could be something that could be, you know, just viewed or assessed and just looked at better. And also just, you know, the new superintendent positions. As a student, seeing, you know, the positions being filled or replaced and stuff like that, a lot of us don't really know what goes on with the administration and what goes on at the school board and in these positions. And, you know, just as students, we're, you know, under administration and under teachers and stuff, and what we just want someone to lead us and to guide us into the direction that everyone wants us to go in. And I'm seeing that, you know, we need this to be assessed and we need this to be changed, and we have people that do that, but then they get removed or they get replaced. And it's just frustrating to see that the people we're supposed to be looking up to and the people that are supposed to be leading us aren't doing their jobs at times, and they aren't completing what they've been said that they will complete. And so, you know, I can speak for all students mostly when we say that we just hope that the people that are being chosen are people that are doing the better for us, and that they're really hoping that what they do can serve us and can help us, and that they're not being too pressured, but at the same time, they understand that there have been lots of things that have been going on with not only students, but administration, and hopefully they can work together to create compromises and to create better plans that they know will help us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are at the Governance Committee, which, John, are you making that tonight? Are you doing that? 'Cause
I was chairing that committee.
do you want to discuss it?
Sure, yeah.
Go ahead, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, so we met on the 10th, I believe, and the governance committee discussed just a few little things like the other committee purposes and definitions. There was just some confusion about what the other two committees were actually charged with doing, and the online definitions, it was very vague, and it was hard to tell the difference between the two committees. So we spent 15 minutes talking about those definitions, and came up with acceptable ones for both committees that they'll be taking back. John and Kyle will be taking back to their committees for approval. Then we talked about ad hoc committees and administrative committees. We currently have 2 ad hoc committees up and running, and we have another one approved. And the only administrative committee we have is the Equality Committee. And that was formerly called an ad hoc committee, but we realized it wasn't really an ad hoc committee. So I think it was in 2018, maybe, we changed that to be an administrative committee. And we actually wrote a policy that said this committee will be run by the administration and will meet regularly. So it hasn't been, and we wanted to draw attention to that. And hopefully our interim superintendents will get that back up and running, because that's a very important part of our community, and I know that it's been missed. And so we're looking forward to getting that back on track as an administrative committee. And the committee meetings will be open to the public. Minutes will be taken just like it's any other committee. We also talked about the board self-evaluation tool. We're going to use 2 things. Well, we're going to recommend 2 things to the full board. One is that we evaluate ourselves based on our board goals and how well we've accomplished those goals. And the other is a Wisconsin Association of School Boards tool that is a more standard type assessment for school boards to evaluate, how we've performed as individuals and as a whole. So we'll be recommending the use of those. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. John Wong, Planning and Budget Committee.
Our committee met on Tuesday, January 7th at 5 p.m. One of the first items on the agenda was the approval of, actually the appointment of vice chair. So Ms. Miller was nominated and voted upon as the vice chair of our committee. We also talked about items that we discussed. Several of them are coming up and will be on the consent agenda for approval, but one of the items that was not part of that was actually the district comparison of legal fees, and that's been an ongoing concern because of the a number of things, open records request, and some of the various things going on legally within our district. We are looking at going out for an RFP to determine if what the cost might be to have in-house counsel versus going to outside counsel as we have in the past. We'll wait to see what happens with that. Several of the items that are on the consent agenda included course change proposals, new course proposals, and let's see, what else did we have here? Yeah, those are the 2 items that we'll move forward. Ad hoc Committee on Student Discipline and Behavior. We provided an update on that. We actually met last night, so we'll have more information on that in a future meeting. And one of the last items was the translation of board policies, which is desperately needed. We all know that, and that was the formation, as Pam had mentioned, of the ad hoc committee to assist with that. So we have to work on that to get that working in motion. And the last item was the facilities, the 10-year capital improvement plan. Sean Winters presented that, and that has been pushed forward to the consent agenda as well. So the next meeting for the planning committee planning and budget will be on Tuesday, February 4th at 5:15 p.m.
Thank you, John. Kyle Larson is the Oversight and Finance Committee Chair.
Okay, we also met on Tuesday, January 7th. And in case your interest is piqued by anything we talk about at a committee meeting, even though the meeting no longer shows up on the featured part of board docs, you can still go in and look at the meeting and then pull up all the attachments and see the presentations that we received. And then that's also where the minutes would be found after they are approved. So we started off by approving the questions for the climate and culture survey with Tracy Shirk, and that window was closed on the 20th. So we will be receiving the data from that. I also appointed Jeff to be the vice chair, which looks like will come back to us in February. We also received our 2019-2020 diversity report from Tanya Williams, the Director of Human Resources. she is going to gather more information about how the district compares to the rest of the state and the Midwest, including the ethnic backgrounds of positions. So Ms. Williams stated that they are recruiting efforts visiting NIU, Milwaukee, WERF, and Madison. And then we inquired about the Grow Your Own Scholarship, and this, so there have been recent conversations with State Line Community Foundation that the funds are not gone. However, we kind of like need to revitalize and kind of like amp it up again, bring some life back to it through payroll deductions. The fund is currently supporting 4 student scholarships. We also received, we had asked for an update on our mental health providers agreement. So Missy Beavers, the interim executive director of People Services, walked us through the agreements between Beloit Health Systems and Hope Child and Family Counseling. We also received our, we approved and moved to the board a purchase order for school safety. So this is actually kind of cool. It's a software that will allow the blueprints of and the layouts of our buildings to be available to all police officers electronically. So in the case of an emergency, any police officer or any emergency official would be able to pull up the blueprints and have the layout of the building in their squad car. We also approved a grant writer. Gosh, we did a lot. We also received our November 2019 financial reports and recommended approval of those. Something a little bit more exciting, they also requested that for this year, we reallocate an FTE position to add a bilingual receptionist at the front desk here at COLAC. And so I believe that is on the consent agenda for tonight. And also the addition of 5 special education paras, which would be paid out of our special education budget, and those are legal mandated because they are bound by an IEP. And then also the contract with Black Hawk Technical College, where there'd be like 5 areas where our students would be able to graduate from high school with an associate's degree or a vocational certification at the same time as they graduate from high school. And I don't know when we'll be meeting yet. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Kyle. We are now at the consent agenda, and I understand there's going to be a change in there.
Yeah. Mr. President, I'd like to pull off item I, position request receptionist, for further discussion.
Any other? So I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda other than item I.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Consent agenda passes. For discussion on I, John, did you want to lead that discussion?
Yes. Position's great with one exception, that if it's a bilingual full-time receptionist, I would expect that the required qualification would be that you are fluent in Spanish. And that wasn't on, it was a desirable qualification. I think it should be a required qualification.
Can I speak to that real quick? Okay.
Yes.
The reason that our job descriptions are universal, we have 2 receptionists at that front desk, not both are bilingual. We will recruit for the bilingual receptionist, which has been filled on a temporary substitute basis since October. And so we did not have separate job descriptions saying this is a bilingual receptionist and this is a regular monolingual receptionist. So that is why it was not in there. I have no issue if you want to have 2 separate ones. The only difference in responsibilities would be that you need to be bilingual. When we advertise this position, the intent is to advertise it that this position is necessary to be a bilingual candidate for it. But that's why the job description itself did not. We don't try to write job descriptions that are so specific to one position when we have like-minded positions. So much like paraeducators, you have some that are in one-on-one classrooms and one that are in self-contained. Those job descriptions are similar for a paraprofessional. We don't identify each one individually. So.
Are there other comments on that? Pam?
Yeah, so just, I'm a little bit confused. Are you saying that you don't have to put bilingual or fluent in Spanish as a requirement, but you'll make sure the person is?
What we will do when we advertise the position, because it is listed as a desired qualification, that the position we have open is a mandatory bilingual candidate. So it will be advertised as a bilingual receptionist position, which is one of our desired candidates, but the ones that we are filling is for bilingual purposes.
So this job description will be different? The job description we have here
is the receptionist, which says is preferred to have bilingual. When we advertise it, it will be advertised as a bilingual
I see.
receptionist.
All right, thank you.
Wendy?
I guess I just have one clarification, Jen. I understand that they do the same duties and they'll do the same thing, but the bilingual will need the Spanish qualification. I think they should be two different job descriptions because a bilingual employee, I mean, you're going to keep that position and then you're going to keep the regular position. I think by using it as a standard and just including that desirable gives it precedence to go away. So.
That absolutely makes sense. And we can absolutely allocate that we have the one bilingual and one receptionist and have separate job descriptions. We can make that amendment. If that's the only problem with that job description, I have no issue. I just wanted to explain why we did not do it that way. We can make that amendment, and then I would like to still get approval to get that posted as soon as possible.
John, go ahead.
With that being said, I would move to the approval of the repurpose of, for the budgeted FTE for the receptionist position as amended to include Spanish or bilingual as a qualification.
I'll second.
Clarification. It already has it in there, so are we really saying that we want a second job description that actually makes it a required versus a desirable?
Yes.
Because I think your motion didn't quite say that.
A required qualification versus a desired qualification. So it'd be a separate job description.
Yeah, my recommendation would be to label that position titled as a bilingual, and we can put Spanish because we do want to make sure that we aren't hiring a Polish bilingual receptionist. We don't have the population, so we will. That was a concern that was brought in committee, so I will make sure it's a Spanish bilingual receptionist titled position, and it will be a mandatory requirement of the job.
Kyle.
So this is a repurposing of the FTE for this year only. So in order for this to continue in the 2021 fiscal year, you'll have to bring back a formal request for additional FTE. So I think the concern of the board is that not by having its own job description, then it's something that gets lost in the shuffle. So, but now as I'm thinking about this, if an FTE is a permanent FTE is proposed and approved in July, then that FTE would carry over every fiscal year unless somebody actually took action to eliminate it, correct?
Yes, and if it is allowable and agreeable, since we're having this discussion, I would like to make the motion that this year we will be using the repurposed funds. I do not want this position to go away. When I start building budget plans and things and we start having a budget committee, I would like this position to remain. So if the board is agreeable, I would like to make this a permanent FTE, and it is one that we will budget. But knowing that this year the funds to cover it, because it was not budgeted with this year, will come out of the savings that I had in my own department to cover that position. So if we can say it's not a 1 year, I'm telling you the funds for this year are coming from unused allocations, but it will be built into the budget for 2021 and going on as a full FTE position.
So clarification, I don't believe John had a second. I did. Did you second it? So I don't believe John's motion satisfies what the board is requesting. I'm hearing that we want a separate job description that specifies that it's bilingual / Spanish, and we want this to be a permanent position, so I don't know if that's a second, or because I don't think we want to include that with the job description. So do we need a motion to make this a permanent, so I'm asking the board, position, because I think the district does need it, and then do we need another motion to make this separate job description, Spanish bilingual?
Yes, I'll need the motion first to approve the FTE, that we can add this to the district allocations of FTEs, and then that addition would be the bilingual Spanish receptionist position. That is the job description you have that will have the changes in title and in the required qualifications.
Michelle, do you have John's, can you read it back to me? I'm sorry, blame John.
So I have that John was moving approval of the reallocation for the receptionist position with the change in the job description, and then he clarified that it was for a required bilingual Spanish-speaking position. After you asked him, he went back and clarified that it was a requirement and not preferred on the job description.
May I make an amendment to the motion?
You may.
So I move to amend John's motion to say that we will approve this FTE for a bilingual receptionist at the front desk of COLAC this year, being paid for with the reallocation of unfilled positions, but it will be budgeted for in the 2021 budget.
Okay, I need you to say that again.
Please don't make me. Okay, so I am amending the motion to say that we will approve the FTE for a bilingual receptionist at the front desk of COLAC to be paid for this year through reallocation of FTE, but then it will be budgeted as a permanent position in the beginning in the 2021 fiscal year. Really, please don't make me say it again.
Can you say that 3 times fast?
Is there a second?
Thank you.
I second.
Is there any further discussion? I believe that we must first act on Kyle's amendment, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? I also believe that with Kyle's amendment, if we approve John's, that does make it a permanent full-time position, right?
Yes.
Thank you. So I will now entertain any further discussion on John's original motion. Do you want me to have it read back? Thank you. Right? So all in favor of John Wong's original motion, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We are now on the business agenda. Item A, 751, Rule 1, General Transportation Guidelines. This is a second reading.
I move approval.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Pam, your mic's on. Do you have? Oh. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? That motion passes. We are now.
Point of order, who was the second?
I'm just the president. I don't know. Who seconded it?
John did.
John did.
Thank you.
We are now on item B, 345.1, Rule 2, the Lottie System. This is a first reading.
I move approval.
A point of clarification is this should be a second reading. This isn't a first reading.
Yeah, it's,
Oh, I stand corrected. So this is 345.1, Rule 2, Lottie System, second reading.
I move approval.
And I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Pam, your mic's on again, so when I see the mic, I think you want to talk. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We are now on item C, 383.1, Service Animals in School. This is a final reading.
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Item D, 143, Board Appointments, second reading.
Move approval with one change suggested.
Yes, Pam.
That we, because here we are talking about adding another committee, so I would like to say that, let's see, the chairperson, okay, fine where it said that. Is this the policy that said that the board president will appoint the chairs of the two committees?
I'm looking at,
Okay, I would like to use the word standing committees instead of naming the committees, because we tend to change our committees frequently here, so could we just have it say standing committees?
Is it possible, because in the policy 185, it also talks about how the board president appoints the chairs of the committees. So is it possible just to eliminate that out of this policy altogether?
So which line are you saying? Because I think I got confused maybe with that one. Which one are you saying, Kyle, to eliminate?
I would just eliminate the chairperson of the planning committee and oversight committee.
Oh, that, yeah,
Yeah, just eliminate that because.
that's what I want to eliminate. And
yeah.
if we want to have it, we can say the chairperson of the standing committees. That's what I'm saying. Because the board president
got it?
appoints.
You got it? Okay.
So I move approval with that change.
Was there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We are now on item E, 187, public participation at board meetings. This is a second reading.
Move approval.
Second, and then I just have a point of clarification. So on 187, this is our policy for the public comments section. Is it still, I just want to clarify with like open meetings, people can still speak on agenda items outside of public participation time if they're acknowledged by the chair. Is that still a thing with 187?
May I respond?
You may.
When we had this in committee, we talked about, do we want people to talk on agenda items or before the agenda items, before the committee starts? And we all decided, and it was unanimously passed to a second reading, that we would have all comments at the beginning of the meeting and none during the meeting. That's how it was passed. That's what everyone thought was the best and most orderly way to do it. I mean, I heard the comments tonight saying, well, you've already taken, I mean, we're speaking before you take the action, but we think that's better because then you have some say in what we're about to do. So for you to get up and speak, for citizens to get up and speak before we have our meeting tells us what's on your mind and what you're thinking. Like as soon as you talked about that, I realized, okay, we're going to be talking about this tonight. So I think if we have them at the end, we talked about having them at the end of the meeting once, and no one liked that idea. No one in the public liked that idea. We've also done it before where we have both. We have comments at the beginning and then comments throughout the meeting of anything on the agenda. And what the board discussed when we had this at first reading was they didn't think that was the best way to go, that they thought the comments all at the beginning was the best way to go. So that's how it's presented tonight.
Is there further discussion on the board?
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, I mean, I agree, and I obviously voted for, I like the idea of including a specific time for public comment. I just didn't realize, I guess, so that's my error, so I apologize, that was replacing the idea that people could participate. And I recall in that conversation talking about committee meetings where we had people weigh in For example, when we had the personnel committee before the staff committee, we had people volunteering comments when we were at each agenda item, and I think that was constructive in our decision-making. So I'm interested in passing 187. I just wanted to clarify, I don't know if maybe we need to bring back the idea of allowing people to speak on agenda items. I don't know if that needs a specific policy, or I thought it's part of open meetings law.
The chair always has the right to recognize anybody.
Right, okay.
So even if your policy says that's what it is, the chair has the right to recognize anybody in the audience if that person so desires, just as I have a right as president of the board to recognize somebody in the audience that has their hand up, which I'm going to invoke that privilege right now.
Thanks.
Yes.
My only issue with this is that you're asking me to say something about something that's in an item in an agenda without me hearing that presenter speak. For me, right now, one of the biggest things is the whole Hispanic and Latino agenda and the policy translation and all of that. For me to stand up and talk about it, knowing that somebody else is going to come behind me and speak on it also, we're doing two different things for two different purposes. And the community right now, I think that all we want is a voice, a way of being heard. And by maybe doing it at the end, the person that's actually presenting can present whatever they're presenting on, and then give the community that opportunity to come back with something on the conversation that was already started, not on the community member just to speak on something that's going to be in the agenda, because I'm going to be told that, well, that might be coming up and we're going to talk about it. And it's pretty much just sit down and listen to what we got to say later, not that censorship that I believe is coming forth. We can try it out. I mean, you guys are going to be the ones with the decision at the end, but the whole censorship, I think we should look at it a little bit differently.
I appreciate your comments. Two thoughts for you. If the board hears up front a concern, it may affect the way the discussion goes. And I can tell you that as a former board chair and president, that there are times where you need to recognize someone in the audience, because we are here to serve you, but we don't want to have an endless discussion back and forth. But what I find usually with people that come to committees, meetings are usually well-informed, and it would be for the chair not to recognize somebody that had an important thing to say. I'd like to think that would not take place. So I'm actually comfortable with what we have here, as long as people realize the chair has the right at any time to recognize somebody, as do I as a president, to recognize you as I just did, and if you would like to speak too, I'm willing to listen to what you have to say.
I believe the overall thing that we're all looking for is for these meetings to be constructive and not go in a way where the argument and the whole yelling and all that takes a different route also. Like, I know that, I believe that, and I understand that. It's just, I appreciate what you said, that as long as the person in the chair can recognize that person in the community, that's all I'm asking for. That's my issue. Thank you.
I believe it. And how do you like the way that mic works?
I'm still reaching for it, and I have no idea why.
If you start singing. Did you want to say something?
I did. I just, like when Kyle was speaking or whatnot, I had like a couple questions. Like when you were talking about the mental health. So you have Beloit Health System coming in, and then who else? Did you say Hope? What did you say here?
Yeah, it was Hopes and Children First. No, Missy's shaking her head at me.
Beloit Health System.
They're not coming in. They have a perimeter. They're not coming in.
They're in the district. They're in the place.
We have approved MOUs with those two agencies.
It's just those two. You're not looking at anybody else. Because there's other children that have other therapists from different places. That's what I'm asking, because I know that it's been an issue, and you know me and
Yeah.
all about the mental health.
I would say the committee directed Ms. Beavers to work on a process so that if students did have a counselor they're working out of, in a different agency, that would allow them time in school. So if you have questions, I would I would refer them to her. Yep, because it was an update on kind of where we're standing, and so that those are, are processes that administration have to make sure are in place. Okay. And so it wasn't saying that things are eliminated, other agencies are eliminated, but just for the safety of the schools.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like they can say, being able to raise our hand when, you brought that up probably about 4 hours ago. So I wanted to just be able to raise my hand and say, okay, so this is what, instead of, trying to remember what you said and then you trying to remember what you said too. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that it is a good idea to let people ask questions throughout the meeting.
Let me just, before I recognize Stephanie, let me just clarify something overall, though. The board meeting is a meeting that's held in public. It's not meant to be a back and forth. That's not what the board meeting's for. So there's a danger that, well, I've allowed some leeway tonight, that could lead us to a 4 or 5 hour meeting, which is not fair to people that come to the meeting that expect to be here from 7 to 9. So we are here to do the business of the district, but I also want to be cognizant of there are concerns and there are times to recognize that. I felt tonight was one of those times, and that'll be the chair's opportunity at committees to say, be time that schedule that, but there's always a way for you to request a board member to put on an agenda to say, can you guys consider this at your next committee meeting, which I would want the public to do, and the same as a board meeting, or even to come up to the microphone in 3 minutes and say, I know that you're talking about this or whatever, but I have some thoughts for that, or could you consider in the future a board meeting item for this? Because it's important, for example, you said to the Hispanic community to have this addressed. And I think the board, and I like every one of these board members here, would take that in consideration, because we all have the same goal here. How do we move this district forward for the best? We've changed a lot. I mean, I went to school here in the 60s. The diversity here is a lot different than it was then. We have to recognize that, and board members have to recognize that. And at the same time, I'm going to encourage people to get more involved and run for school board and be more involved in this community. That's the only way things are going to change in the way you want them to change. And Stephanie, I'm sorry. I wanted to recognize you because you wanted to. Well, I can change my mind, but your mic's not on, so go ahead.
Thank you. So I apologize too, because I had gone through the first reading as well, but then I was listening to what David said and now listening to what Angie said. Would it perhaps, they come to all the meetings, so they're very well aware of, when to speak and whatnot, but for the average person coming in, they won't know that you have that authority to ask a question. So I guess what I'm wondering is if we should, and is it even possible to consider questions at the beginning? I think, Pam, you had mentioned that before, and at the end. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
You could take that up in committee, Stephanie, if you wanted to modify that. So unless there's nothing else, I think I'm sorry, Megan, go ahead.
I'll be quick. Yeah, I would like to go forward with 187. I was just wondering if we could, and I don't know if this needs to be amended in the policy or if we can just agree that this is a good thing to do, is that at the beginning of the meetings, if we could just let people know, maybe a call to order, that if an agenda item comes up and they have something to say about it when we're talking about the agenda item, if they're recognized by the chair, there's an opportunity there as well, just to clarify that for the general public who is not as well informed as people who come all the time.
I believe that's already part of our policy. Can they not tell you if they want to speak on an agenda item?
No.
Yeah, they can.
No, I mean, as written, it wouldn't. That's what I was just going to say, was that the way it's written, the little speech that you would give before public comment time does not say if you want to speak on an agenda item. It just says all comments are at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is this is much better than what we had, which was you can only comment at business meetings. I would suggest we move forward with this and then take it back to policy committee and see if we can improve on it. There's no reason it can't come back again in a month. But I'd like to get started with it the way it is, because it's better. It's much better than what we currently have.
Okay, well, there was a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I guess I'm wondering if I can offer to amend the motion to pass 187 for its second read, with the consideration that we would include some language at the beginning of all of our meetings, just to remind people that there's that option.
Is there a second?
I second. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did you have discussion?
I do, but go ahead.
Should have discussion, but I seconded.
Yeah. So what I would like to suggest is that still, we're here at a business meeting where we do second readings, and that's a pretty major addition that maybe would be better worked in policy committee. I'm just thinking if we pass it as it is, like I say, it's an improvement, and then we bring that discussion to committee meeting and talk about it where we can really dig a little deeper into it and make sure it's what we want.
Kyle?
I have a concern with passing it as it is with the intention of bringing it back in a month because that transparency has a lot of definitions, and I think that one definition is making it easy for the community and public to access our information, our practices, and so if we pass it this way tonight, and then we're going to bring it back to a policy committee in a month and make more changes to it, I don't see the purpose of passing it for a second reading tonight. With the intention of bringing it back. Because it would be a policy that would have to be published, and then in the meantime, we know we're going to be working out in the back end to just republish it in a couple of months.
Could you clarify? I'm not quite following you. Are you talking about the amendment as part of it, or are you talking about passing the original?
I'm talking about passing the whole thing. It sounds like maybe we weren't quite to terms with what the policy says as we thought we were. So maybe it needs to go back to committee for more work before it's brought back. I hate the idea of passing something saying, yes, this is what we're going to do with the intention, knowing that we're going to take it back and work on it again.
So your recommendation is to vote it down to send it back to committee? Or because there's a second on both motions that we have to act on. So the only way to go back to committee is are you making a motion to send it back to committee?
No, he's saying.
We'd have to vote it down.
I'm not.
Pardon, Pam?
Point of order. We'd have to vote it down right now, and it automatically goes back to committee. I'm fine with that. I just don't want to sit here tonight and write policy.
All right. So we have two motions in front of the board. So the amendment has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Nay. That motion fails. The original motion, is there any other further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. It goes back to committee for further discussion. That was a lot of work for that, wasn't it? My. I'm starting to sweat. I'm going to tell you, this president thing's getting to me. Okay, I got to remember where I'm at now. Okay, we are on board board participation, we have 187? No, we're at 166 and 166, Rule 1. Board member requests for information. This is a second reading.
I move approval of the deletion. I'm not sure why all of these came on here, but the only thing that should be on here is deletion of the policy and rule. Correct?
Is there any further discussion?
I know the reason all the documents are on there is because I know Michelle was trying to add the edited version and the clean version so you could reference the changes that had been made in the first reading.
166 had changed this. 166 Rule 1 was being deleted.
Oh, when 166 stays?
Yeah, 166 had revisions, and then I had the 166 with the revisions, and 166 clean, so you could see what it looked like after
Yeah.
the revisions. And then I had 166, Rule 1, twice being crossed out, but it really only needed to be the once being crossed out, because the rule is what you're deleting.
We're deleting Rule 1.
Right.
And it's, and it,
166, you had revisions.
right, so we're passing 166 revised and we're deleting 166.1 in its entirety.
Then I would like to amend my motion to pass 166 for second reading and pass the deletion of policy 166 Rule 1.
This is a second reading.
Right. So maybe I said it wrong. I'd
You
like
did.
to make a motion, amend my motion to say 166 passes for second reading and 166 Rule 1 is deleted. Correct?
I'll second.
Okay.
Well, that's the way it originally was, but okay. Any further discussion? So I have a amendment. Do I?
Yes, I thought I originally said to delete them both.
Okay.
So that's why I amended it.
All right.
I don't know that she had a second. There wasn't a second.
On the first one, there was no second?
It was a
Yeah,
second.
there
It
was a second. So we're going to have to act on the amendment. Is there any further discussion to that? Which was the original intent of the F anyway. So seeing no other, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So since there was a original motion, any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye. All. All opposed, nay? Okay, I need to know the count. Do you guys know what you voted on? You wanted to say nay. We don't want your original motion. We don't want your original motion.
Well, the original motion was amended.
Yeah, it was amended.
We passed the amendment.
you want the original motion because it's amended now.
Yeah, because it's the, yeah.
All right, so the motion still passes, so I'm telling you, this president thing is hard work. I'm confused, so. All right, we're good. Right? We had, you and I were 2 nays, and everybody else was smart, and they voted yes. We're the dunces, but we're the president, vice president. You don't have to be smart to get these jobs, just so you know. All right, so we are on G, 222.1, Rule 2, Temporary Administrative Assignments. This is a second reading.
I'll move approval, and I would like to bring to the attention that this policy addresses what Mr. Levy discussed. While I don't know of any 5-year interims we do have some that are over a year. And this policy adds this clause, to provide equal opportunity to all qualified district employees and non-district persons, and to uphold the district's hiring policies and practices. Vacancies in administrative positions will be posted within 12 months following the vacancy, followed by recruitment and appointment according to board policy. So this addresses that. So I move approval.
Any further discussion? Is that a hand, Megan, or is that
No, she's just pointing.
just a tick, nervous tick? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We are now on H, 343.41, Youth Options, and 343.41, Rule 1, Youth Options. This is a second reading.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is there further discussion? John?
Yeah, I just had one question. Are the students adequately informed that they need to complete this class, or they will be required to pay for it? And who's tracking this?
So when we're working with our district administration, yes, that was a question that was asked, and there's like a packet that they receive that parents or guardians have to sign that clearly lays out all the expectations.
Is there any further discussion? If not, oh, I'm sorry, Emily?
Just in the policy, when we wrote it, we didn't add in private schools, but Ms. and I were actually reviewing the website today on DTI, and private or nonprofit institutions of higher education are also included. So that probably should be, that language should be added to the policy as well.
Need an amendment for that? Someone want to take a shot at that?
Sure. I'd like to amend that motion to approve policy 343.41 and 343.41 Rule 1 to include language for nonprofits and private higher education institutions. Nonprofit and private, or nonprofit private, JK. So nonprofit private institutions. Got it.
Michelle, do you have it? That's the most important part.
I think so.
In the future, if we have additions from administration like that, if we could know ahead of time, it would help us too. So,
I'll second that.
any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We are now on number I, 533, Rule 3. No, that's right, we did amend it, didn't we? So now we're back to the original amendment.
The amended motion.
Any further discussion on the original motion? As amended, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? That motion passes. Now we are on I-533, Rule 3, Hiring, Transfer, Promotion, second reading.
I'll move approval, and this just clarifies that any compensation that is to be received for a temporary promotion is also approved by the board.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. J, January 28th, 2020 Employment Recommendations, Exhibits A and B.
I would like to move approval of the personnel recs exhibits A and B as presented.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We are now on item 8, future board meeting dates. I do know we have a meeting, regular meeting on February 11th. We have a special workshop on the 13th. Am I missing anything? Committee dates have not been set yet.
No, mine hasn't. There's an ad hoc meeting on the 10th.
We have an ad hoc meeting for who?
Ad hoc meeting for student discipline and behavior is on the 10th of February. Yes. Planning and budget is on Tuesday the 4th, which I stated earlier.
And they will be posted on the board docs. Pam, do you have something? I saw your light on.
I was just going to say that the workshop on the 13th has to do with charter schools, and it's not pros and cons. It's basically the facts about charter schools, because one is coming to Beloit. We want to know, how it will affect us, both funding-wise and serving students. So it's about charter schools. It'll be presented by a state expert on charter schools, and Sarah Hackett, and she's being joined by another gentleman from the DPI. I'm not sure of his name yet, but it should be very informative and probably about 2 hours long.
Are there future board agenda items?
I have
I'm
a-
sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
I have the ad hoc Hispanic Committee meeting. We'll be meeting the 12th of February at 5 o'clock here. No, it's the Hispanic ad hoc.
Your light's still on,
I
so,
have future agenda item.
okay,
Should I go now?
go right ahead.
Okay.
You're never shy before.
I was wondering if we could talk again about the traffic situation around Robinson and Fruzen schools, because I noticed that we were on the news for having the police down there and ticketing parents and telling people to slow down. I just want to know, I guess we got the flashing lights up at Robinson. At least we ordered them, so I'm hoping they're up. But I'm wondering, is there more we can do to have things safe for those kids as they're crossing the street? Those are some of our littlest kids, and I don't want them at risk. The other thing is, I've spoken several times to people of the city about the Fruzen situation. Excuse me. We have a crossing guard there every morning and every afternoon, but the 15-mile-an-hour thing you don't see that until you're at the crosswalk. And, I'm very concerned about student safety. If I find myself doing 40 and all of a sudden slamming on my brakes when I get to the crosswalk because I realize I'm in a 15-mile-an-hour now. So people have told me that they could put up, city people have said they could put up a sign slowing it down a little bit sooner. I'd like to see if we could talk with the city about that to make that a safer situation as well. And I'm just wondering if we can get an update on how we're doing with our open records request, and maybe discuss, and maybe not as a board, but have our superintendents look at how we can have more of that done by staff without legal advice. Like, are we over sending that? I'm worried about our legal fees here. And let's see. That brings me to the other one, which is an update on what we're doing for the in-house attorney proposal that we discussed. And that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, are there any further items from the board?
I was just
Megan?
hoping we could get an update on reporting out on the listening session that we had Sunday the 19th. So I'd just like that on an agenda if we could, so we could report back to the community a summary of what we've heard, as well as an agenda item to have a more thorough discussion about, now that we have our 2 interim superintendents, how we would like to move forward together on getting community input.
Yeah, that is something that John and I will be addressing with Sue and Bill, so. John?
I would like to provide a WASB convention update.
At the next meeting?
At the next meeting, yeah. I would have done it for this meeting, but I wasn't prepared.
Okay, we will be running pretty tight the next 2 meetings, so I don't know if we'll get to everything that you want. I do want to have the discussion on the committees. I feel very strongly about the policy and personnel. The board will have to make decisions on that. Make it quick.
Can you add Aldridge, please? Aldridge Crossing? Yeah, because you're on Prairie Avenue, and there's that parking lot at Dollar General and stuff, because people are crazy.
Has something changed at Aldridge, or is it just, you're just noticing it because, you
No,
know?
I've been noticing it for years, but
Okay.
if you're going to start being more concerned about the crosswalks and things like that, and putting that on the committee and stuff, can you add Aldridge to that?
Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind, if you could send us an email explaining exactly what your concerns are, so we can look at that too.
I think the board will have to
Thank
take
you.
up before next school year, probably all the schools, quite frankly, whoever's at the board at that time, because every school has a concern. Before we get to the adjournment, I would like to say something to the board and to the community. We have had some really turbulent times the last few years, and we did make some changes at the last meeting. But I would like to recognize Pam Charles for her role as president the last 2 years during these difficult times. She has been a person that understands policy and law and has been a great resource for this board. So I just wanted to recognize Pam for the work she's put in these last 2 years. So thank you very much. With that being said, I would take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight.